Wonderful. Welcome to Bible study here in Aurora and Colorado, and we're looking forward to Bible study tonight and studying the book of Philippians. For those who've been joining us throughout the whole book, we welcome you back. But if this is your first time to Bible study with us, we welcome you, and we're looking forward to what God has for us. We're looking forward to things throughout this week. We don't know for sure how things are going to work out with announcements. Sometimes they say restrictions are limited or lifted, or we're going to be able to have service, or we're not going to be able to have service. We're hoping to have service open to some. I don't know how it'll be on Sunday morning, but that's our hope. That's our prayer. You be praying for service. So let's look forward to that. Before we get into the Bible study tonight, let's have a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you for your word, how it is a light to us, a lamp unto our feet, that we can learn it, that we can grow thereby. We pray that you would just look at each heart, each one that's listening tonight. I know there's some special needs out there. Different ones have called. I pray that you just bless, comfort, meet the needs. Amen. So on the last, we continued our Bible study on Wednesday night, working it out. Those verses in Philippians chapter 2, verses 12 and 13. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And we dealt with working it out and having that right attitude towards salvation, towards others, working together for the good, and how that God works in us both to will and to do his good pleasure. It's all for his glory. And tonight we want to look at verses 14 through 18, and we want to put a title on it, Let Your Light Shine. Let your light shine. I want to use for a verse 15, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world. So light is a big focus of the Bible study tonight, and we want to look at a few things of light and what light, how it helps, and what throughout history, and some of light throughout history has had a greater impact. In times past, we have the luxury of all the lights. We have LED lights, we have electricity. But in times past, they used to have oil lamps. They used to, they would have torches and rags and coals and sticks and whatever may be. But many times in times past that the world would pretty much shut down when the sun went down. There wasn't a whole lot that took place unless you had some type of a light source. If you were traveling, you would probably just, it's time to settle it down for the night, start up a campfire and get around the campfire, and you would have that. And there was also, if you were traveling, if you were in a ship, if you didn't have the stars to navigate by, or if you didn't have a lighthouse, a light to look at in the distance, you'd pretty much slow it on down so you didn't have a crash, or run into something. So work would cease, travel would cease. It had a great impact on it. And, my wife and I have talked about it, and different ones maybe listening that are way up north, up in Alaska, up near the northern pole. They have times when there's night all through. They only get just a short amount, a half hour, an hour of daylight. I don't know how many of you have been there through the whole day. And then there's times when they have light all day long. But there's when you don't have a lot of sunlight that's taking place, and it's kind of dreary. Washington can kind of be that way, where it's all dreary. You can have the rain coming all the time, rain, and that's the advertising that goes on, and there's not a lot of sun. Here we talk about sunshine. Even though there's a lot of rain, even though that it can come down, and even though we can have quite a bit of weather, we got a lot of sunshine here. We enjoyed sunshine today, and many days there's sunshine. But research shows, one little report I read, that vitamin D deficiencies in men caused by not enough sunlight make them twice as likely to develop heart disease. If you're not careful, a lack of sunlight can actually lead to a form of clinical depression, and that's these northern climates or these places where there's a lot of darkness, not a lot of sunshine. People do get depressed, and even I think there's a spike or a rise in suicides. People get depressed. And the less sunlight we see in the winter months, the more likely we are to develop seasonal affective disorder. Nomenclature, you get it? It's already coming to you. SAD. That's sad, isn't it? SAD. Seasonal affective disorder. And you become sad. You have sadness. However that relates. But it truly is that way. Sunshine has a big effect on us. And there's things that sunshine has a direct reflection on. One of them is our food. The photosynthesis, I knew I was going to have a problem with that word. Is a concept in biology wherein food is synthesized by use of light. So the light changes the food around, changes it to where that it has a chemical reaction within the plants to where that it creates the food that we eat. And also for vitamin D, how it changes. It's a type of vitamin which is needed and supplied from the external sources. This is because it becomes synthesized from ergosterol or cholesterol and cholesterol. There's two different ones there by irradiation with sunlight. There's a change that takes place in our skin when the sunlight hits it that produces the vitamin D that we need in our body. Otherwise, we have a deficiency. And we need that sunshine. We need to get out there. And they say the best time is get out there in the morning, get out there in the evening. It feels good just to be out in the sunshine. Oh, it feels so good to be out in the sun until it gets too hot. And then you're like, well, time to get back under cover. For our vision, we need light for vision. We need light to determine colors. It's the light that goes through the colors that reflects and refracts and creates the colors that we see. Of course, the rainbow shining through the humidity in the air that creates the colors that we see, the violet, the blue, the indigo, the green, the yellow, the orange, and the red. The maintenance of temperature. Light is a form of energy, and sunlight has a large energy by which the temperature on the earth is maintained due to this. Another thing is maintains body clock. The light that goes around, it maintains our body clock or our circadian rhythm, they say. Everyday light keeps plants and animals ticking with time. I don't know if you've ever seen a big sunflower field when the sun's going across the field. The heads turn with the sun. As the sun goes across the sky, all those big yellow heads turn with the sun. It's a cycle. They go up and go down. So there's more activity drying and evaporation. You have the whole cycle of water that takes place. You also have sterilization. That's a big one we've got now, right? Everybody's talking about, get sunny, it's going to kill the virus. So we have to, there's a sterilization, but there's more than just the virus. There's different things as far as decaying of plants, the cycle of life. So light has its, there's certainly many different categories, but it's letting our light shine. Daniel chapter 12, verse 3, and says, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. Even back in Daniel, it's saying that they that are wise shine as the brightness of the firmament. You have that brightness, that light, that shining. That's what we're supposed to be as lights in this dark world. And we'll get into what this dark world means. But there's different kinds of lights. You can have headlights, you can have candle, you can have lamps, all kinds of different lights, and some are pleasant. You can have a candle and it can be accented, and we can have, we're talking about lights in here. We've been changing lights in the chapel. We've been doing accent lights, and everybody, you put the accent light, oh, that looks so pretty. And you can have lights on the table or a candle in a certain place, and oh, that looks so nice and peaceful, a candlelight dinner. And then you can have Mr. Redneck that has the 10 or a million candle headlight. Hey, how you like my light? Whoosh, and just shines it in your face. And I think we even have one up. My son, we bought a light like one of those from a rental place where it's like the sun. You turn on, it takes a while for it to light up, but then it lights up the whole area. And the neighbors are like, can you turn that off? It's not very pleasant, but it lights up a whole big area. So you can have different types of light. You can have a headlamp on your head that's going up when you go up in the attic, and it works great because wherever you look at, you can see because the light is shining that way as long as the batteries don't go out. And as long as somebody's with you going in the same direction, looking in the same direction, we both like that light. But as soon as you say, hey, bro, and he turns his head and he looks at you with the headlamp on his head, he blinds you. It's not a very subtle. It's right in your face. And so he's talking about telling us to be lights, and so there's different kinds of lights, and certainly different people shine different ways. You can have those that sing the song, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm going to let it shine, this little light." And it's just, kids' song or even adults, and it's just a light, and you're letting it shine, and some of it's very subtle, and it's just a glow, and then there's others, they have a light, they're shouting, "You need to get into the light, you sinner, you're going to die and go to hell." They just have they're letting that light shine, and sometimes it's a little bit too bright to where that others aren't attracted to God, but they're repelled from the light that you're shining on them. So he says in verses 14 and 15, "Do all things without murmuring and disputings." Pastor, you said both verses, just read those, don't stop there. Well, we'll go back to that. "But that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God without rebuke in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world." So we have to look at that phrase, do all things without complaining and disputing. And Paul certainly was a light, a beacon. He was a lighthouse, and they looked at him as being a light that was shining not just to those that were around him, but to those that he wrote to and to those that he had traveled to and impacted time and time again. They were looking to him as a great light, but now his light, he was in jail, he was in prison because of his testimony, because he was preaching the word of God. And so he was writing this letter to the church at Philippi, and they certainly probably were worried about him being in church, or not being in church, being in jail, being incarcerated, and saying, well, how is this light affecting your ministry? How is this incarceration? Isn't it putting your light out? Isn't it dampening what you're doing? And Paul is saying, no, it's not having that effect. In fact, the light is shining even greater. I might be in jail. My part might be here, but you're still out there. You're still able to shine. You're still able to go forth and preach the gospel. You're still able to share the good news. So you do what you do, and I'll do what I do, and we'll let God work it all out. So we can all let our light shine no matter what the situation. We may look at our situation where we're at and say, I'm confined to my house. All across our nation, we have different levels of confinement. That's weird that we're talking about confinement in America. But, we can still have freedom in God, and we can still let our light shine, and we just have to find different ways of doing it to where that, hey, well, I'm going to adjust the way that I'm doing it, and when I get on to the other side of this, I'll add it to what I've already been doing. God will open up more doors for us, and some of us, we've not been on social media. Some of us have not been involved with interacting with people online, and now we have to do that. Some of us, we don't do any of that. We went away from, it used to be that you wrote letters and you mailed them off, and then we went to social media where you go to like one click, two click, a little emoji here, there, whatever. So you have many different extremes on how people communicate, but some people just don't communicate at all. They're just like, well, that's just too much effort. I don't want to be involved in all that. But it's an encouragement to others to be able to share and to be able to encourage others and to where, but you want it to mean something. You want it to mean something, not just to be a word or just something that is lighthearted. But we want to be able to interact. And so with that, we just have to change, and so we can be effective for God. And so God had exalted, and God had worked through Paul, and God was sharing, and that's what we're reading tonight and studying tonight is the letter to the church at Philippi, to where that we talked about Christ being highly exalted and how that God had raised him up and how he told us to have this mind of Christ. All right, well, we'll start over, I guess. So what do we have going on? We're still live. Okay. we're going to work on something, and we're going to restart here in just a little bit, and we'll go over it. We'll see what's going on. See if we can boot and reboot.